Hello, welcome back to my Pathfinder beginner's tutorial. Today we're going to go over feats. I'm not going to go over every feat in the player's handbook because there's just too many of them. Like when you look at the chart, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 pretty much four full pages of table just to determine the feats. So it's a little bit hard to go over that many in a video, so I'll just go over the basics of feats just to help you out. Feats are basically abilities that aren't tied to class, aren't tied to race, or not tied to anything else. So theoretically, a feat basically helps you fix things into different things. Like feats that get you more weapons, feats that make you better, unlock better combat maneuvers, that kind of stuff. So let's go over the basics. First is the name, which is kind of what you put here. Next is a prerequisite. So a good number of feats have prerequisites. Your character must have all the prerequisites before they take them. So theoretically, you have to have the ability scores, the other feats, or the thing. Basically, that's how they become a chain. So you should be thinking about the chain later on and what you want to take. So let's go through types of feats. You have the general feat, which is basically just something that's not tied to anything. You can just take it and it's not affected by any subtype. The next one is a combat feat. This is basically designed specifically for they're basically primarily used for they're focused specifically on training and combat. The fighter's bonus feat that I have can only be they're specifically focused to be those feats that are selected as fighter bonus feat as combat feats can be selected as the fighter bonus feat because you are trained. A fighter does train in combat, so that's the bonus feats they have. So these kind of feats will improve your combat performances. The next feat is a critical feat. These feats will basically modify your to whenever you critically hit, and normally that's on a 20 on the d20 to hit, but it can also be lower depending on what weapon or what abilities are on that weapon. So but they don't normally stack, so be careful about that. So if you want to crit more often, you can actually take a combat feat to improve your weapon's critical range, which is always handy, but you have to meet the prerequisites. So the next one is an item creation feat. This is what Scribe Scroll is. It falls under the term item creation. These feats allow you to enchant items, enchant magic items. For example, Scribe Scroll basically allows you to take a spell from your spell book or from your list and write it out into physical form as a scroll, so you can cast it when you need to. Basically allowing you to spend time and material and a spellcraft check to gain more spells per day. So basically this helps you stand in low levels, and when you gain more levels you can pick more up, including I think you can make potions, wands, and scrolls are listed here, but you can also take staffs, wands, rings. You can enchant arms, weapons, and armor. So that's a good one if you're playing a spellcaster. The prerequisites for these kind of spells is you have to have what's called a caster level, which is basically any level is the single level of a single spellcaster. So in this character, he'd only have a caster level 1 because he only has 1 wizard level. So something you should think about. The next one is matematic feats. These basically modify how a spell works. So you apply it to a spell when you prepare it or cast it if you're spontaneous. But if you're spontaneous, you have to spend the full round casting. So theoretically, you can use these to modify how a spell works, but the penalties is every when you modify a spell with one of these, you have to increase the spell level. So theoretically, at first level, you only know first level spells. You cannot modify these spells. You can modify your cantrips, but they'd still take up a spell slot. So let's say if you have a mana feat that improves the spell slot by 1, you can only apply it to a cantrip, and it'd take one of your first level spell slots per the day. So be careful with those. They can be very handy, but you want to make sure you know what you're doing with it. So that's the basics for feats. We're going to go into the selecting feats for this one. And Archer Spellcaster. So let's go with this one. Sorry, I'm just taking a quick look later on. Okay. So let's take a look at, since we're going to go with archery, let's go with, weapon focus. Which is a combat feat. And let's put it in the longbow. This feat adds you +1 to attack rolls. So basically, this improves your accuracy with the longbow. The second feat I'm going to take is Point Blank Shot, which is a +1 to attack. So if a target's within 30 feet of me, I get +1 to attack and damage. And I believe the rules do state that this applies with spells too, which is a great double for purpose for spell. Since we're focusing the longbow, having a bonus to attack is good there. So that's good for the selection of feats now. Next up, we're going to go into, I believe we're going to go into equipment next, but I'm just going to check. Yeah, we're going to determine equipment next. So hopefully you're going to enjoy that. So I'll see you next time. If you have any comments, just leave them in the description, and I'll and hopefully enjoy this. See you next time. Bye.